What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
Alrighty, so this week's episode of Andor, titled Aldhani, got kind of a lot of stuff in this episode, even though it wasn't really that much, but we got fucking Cassian's over here starting to realize that, oh shit, these guys are fucking serious.
Yeah.
And they ask him to fucking memorize the entire fucking layout of an Imperial base.
Right.
And learn a fucking whole ass language overnight.
Right.
Fucking
Aldhani slang.
Yeah. And there was something for a little bit of something for everyone in this episode. Dusty, I'm curious to see what you think, given your complaints from last episode, because you got you're getting your Birth of the Rebellion stuff in this episode. Really good stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 3 episodes felt more like a prologue. Now we're into the nitty-gritty of what's going on and what's happening, and that's the interesting stuff. So this episode I was much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're really
that recap was so good at the beginning. Like, it put me right back to how I felt after watching the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Adrenaline fucking pumping.
You're starting to see the different corners of the galaxy coming together to fight back.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know really.
Right now we just have sects of groups that are fighting out. They all have different names. It's not a rebellion yet, but you know, basically what happened is people, you know, they ran away to the shadows and slowly started getting back together and building resistances, and
they're rising up.
We're about to see it all come together. Yeah.
We'll get into the details
with this heist.
Oh yeah.
this heist.
I have we'll get into the details of some of the stuff we saw in this episode, but I actually went back to watch a specific scene from the original Star Wars movie, A New Hope, to get a little bit of like timeline stuff. I'm a little unclear. I know we talked about the years according to Star Wars, like where we're at, but I'm a little unclear as to how far off we currently are as of episode 4 to the actual events of Rogue One and then New Hope. And I'm wondering if this shows over the course of like a couple of years. They haven't really made that super clear just yet. I don't think it is.
I think they have, yes. This show is supposed to end with Rogue One kicking off.
Yes, Dan Gilroy did say that. So that's why I'm kind of curious, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And Marvin, you got to see your AK-47 from the trailer pop up in this episode.
Yes, I did. We finally get to see our boy with the AK, and it all makes sense now. They all got AKs.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know what was funny? I was actually laughing because obviously they probably just repurposed some weapons, I don't know, from other movies or whatever the case to do it. And it works because it looks like just thrown together.
Resistance.
Yeah. Very Resistance-esque, yeah.
Straight up.
But the other thing I was laughing at was Cassian's outfit in this episode. He was wearing this like jacket that was like so clearly different from all the other people at this camp he ends up at. They were wearing like very very Star Wars-esque clothes, and his jacket was clearly just like a denim jacket that the production people just like put patches on and stuff to sort of make it look different. But I thought
wasn't that her jacket? Wasn't she wearing it when she walked up to the ship and she gave it to him on the walk back?
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting that it was like denim and like clearly denim. But yeah, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. It picks up right where the previous episode 3 left off. He's in the ship with Luthen. And Luthen's giving him a little bit of information. He's like, yo, we're going to pay you 500,000. Was it 500,000, right?
200,000.
200,000. I'm going to give you 200,000 credits.
Is there a credit to USD conversion? Like, what's that looking like? Is it like
sure
Venezuelan conversion or?
It's probably not good.
Pesos.
Especially if it's tied to the euro or something. I don't know.
Boy,
that sounded smart to say, but I don't know anything about currency. But yeah, so Luthen is like, yeah, dude, we're going to pay you 200,000 credits if you do this thing. We need to steal quarterly payroll from some Imperial shit.
which is crazy that they get paid quarterly.
Listen, I just want
I need a check.
I just want to preface this conversation with, I'm fucking so in love with this show so far. It's brilliant. They doubled out on what I loved about it in the first 3 episodes, and I don't see any way that they're gonna like veer off course at this point. But I'll get into a bit more about why I'm saying that. But just know that I'm fully on board with this. We could end the video because I love it. You guys,
that's it.
Yeah, it don't matter.
See you next week.
But yeah, so he's Luthen is telling him, we need you to get in and steal the these quarterly payrolls from some Imperial base or whatever. And he's taking him to a planet called Aldhani, which is the title of the episode. And Luthen's kind of like, you know, they're having like this, it's not like a dispute, but Cassian's obviously skeptical. He's like, yo, like, why the fuck do you want me? Like, I'm just trying to save my own ass. And Luthen's like, well, I don't think you are, actually. I think you want the same things that I want. Like, you want to fucking, I forget his exact quote, but he says something along the lines of, you want to put a stick in the eye of the Empire.
Empire, yeah.
Just like us. And Cassian's like, well, you don't really know what the fuck I want. So who are you to say?
Right.
One of the interesting things that I found was that, you know, by the time we meet him in Rogue One, it does seem like Cassian is sort of like super into the fucking alliance and all this stuff. And I'm sure a part of him is, but we're not really getting that part yet. It's more of like he's starting to just like, you seen the seeds get sown of like, oh, okay, I have like another agenda, but like, you know what? These guys are kind of pieces of shit. And I'm sure that'll be fleshed out with the flashbacks to Kanari.
Yeah, right now he's clearly still in it for the money. I mean, 200,000 credits. And by the time we see him in Rogue One, he's just ready to die for the cause. There's no amount of money that would matter at that point.
Yeah, and when we talked about, I think in the last episode we did on the show, we talked about how certain times things with like where the stakes are reduced because you know the outcome of something. I'm not actually feeling that at all here, even though I know his fate is to die. It's the fact that he dies for the rebellion it's making all this even more meaningful, right? Like seeing his backstory. So that's been pretty cool. And Luthen actually gives him this necklace with like a rare kyber crystal, blue kyber. And he's like, listen, if you want to run off and fucking sell, he's like, take no less than 40,000 credits for it. He's like, but I want it back. And it's like his way of saying like, nah, you're going to do the right thing. I know you will. And which was kind of ballsy. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice down payment.
And after this little episode starter, if you will, it's kind of setting the tone for where we're going to be at. We get a cut to this board meeting, essentially.
We get a look into the Imperial Security Bureau, or ISB.
Yeah.
Where the news is spreading.
And I loved this so much. The bureaucracy of it.
Yeah. They're talking about this incident, as they put it, that happened on Ferrix.
Yes.
The head of the ISB asked about the incident. The reporting supervisor is like, yeah, you know, they ran into some trouble. Now, as the audience, we know damn well it was a lot more than some trouble.
And what was really, really cool about this, like I said, it's cool seeing the bureaucracy and like how the mechanisms by which the Empire maintains control. And they've got the Security Council, but there's also the Imperial Senate and some of this other stuff.
Yeah, it's cool how these supervisors are all overseeing little different sects. Like, the guy overseeing Ferrix is overseeing like 5 other little places, systems, I guess. And Deidre, she gets introduced. And she's getting real involved.
Yeah,
she's not fucking around about her Star Path unit. And now, we found out a little bit more about her too. Like, I guess she was like an enforcer, which I guess is like a police officer type of thing, or detective or something. Well,
so you figure they're part of the Security Council, right? Like this Imperial Security Council. And I'm assuming it's for like a sector of the galaxy. I'm sure they don't control the whole shit.
Yeah.
But they're discussing like the nature of their job essentially, and really what it is to root out and eliminate any threat to the Empire from within or outside it, which is I thought was really cool because later in the episode we do actually meet a
double agent.
A double agent.
Sorts. Yeah.
I don't know if he was embedded by the rebellion or if I got the idea that he was just part of the Empire and just trading.
I'm not sure. I thought he was planted there on purpose because he said at some point he's been there for like 6 or 7 years.
He said 7 years, yeah.
So it seems like he's there on purpose. And Deidre is seemingly uncovering a pattern of rebel activity. But the head of ISB is not really interested in this case unless it has more substance. Seems like Deidre is acting out on some gut instinct, like detective work. But it seems like the rest of her peers are only focused on the numbers and this sort of thing.
Cue the comments of like, more woke shit, a woman in the workplace getting fucking shot down by her bosses. Here we go. Disney fucking at it again. But no, I thought that was actually really cool because she's actually in her sector. She's been noticing some Imperial tech getting stolen.
Right.
And she's trying to bring it to her superiors that, hey, listen, I'm noticing a pattern here. And I think this could be leading to like an armed resistance against the Empire.
And he's like,
yeah, and of course
that's just your gut. You don't have any proof.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Seems like they might made it seem like she's gonna go off on her own and sort of like figure it out for herself.
Which is interesting because that's exactly what our boy Karn did at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Karn being that fucking commander guy or whatever. RoboCop guy that
who got fucking reamed out and got reamed out this fucking episode by the Imperial.
Our boy Karn got demoted bigly after fucking up in Ferrix. And he's met with a slap from his mom. So I don't know if she was disappointed in him with that. It was weird.
No, I got the impression that he was just gone for a while. Maybe like
without checking in. Maybe. Yeah.
It was something.
Maybe that's what it was.
Some mom shit.
Because at first I felt the disappointment of the slap through the screen, but I guess it wasn't that.
But just circling back a little bit to Deidre, investigating these repeated incidents.
Yep.
And again, she says, I suspect that we're starting to see the beginnings of an organized rebellion, and they obviously don't listen because superiors never do, right? Just you're acting on instinct. We don't have proof, yada yada yada. But what was really really fucking cool is as I said a few minutes ago, seeing the bureaucratic bullshit.
Yeah.
That goes on in real life. Like I used to work in an office for a big company, so it's like I know. Obviously, there was no like high level tech getting stolen under my watch, but I was just selling insurance. But still, like you're
the bullshit. Yeah, like her going behind the other guy's back to try to get the case going, and he's like, no.
Yeah, and when you just speak to your bosses or your superiors or your it's like there's always like this level of like, what's the word I'm looking for? No, just dismissal. Like they're just like, yeah, whatever.
Well, that's like a recurring theme in this whole show. Like, so he steals the thing, and they don't have enough security because they don't expect people to be this ballsy. Now he's dismissing this case because he's like he probably doesn't expect anything, that sort of thing. And now they're doing this heist, and they even said like, oh, it's a suicide mission, so they don't expect it. So it's like a recurring theme, it seems like, in the show.
I'm looking forward to seeing like what else happens, right? And what their other plans are to, deal blows to the Empire.
Right.
Because in Rogue One, you see that the Alliance was like super hesitant to even get involved in the plans of the Death Star. It took like this group of rogues to sort of make the decision on their own. They're like, no, this has to be done. So I really like getting a look into like what the rebellion's planning to do. We also get
interesting.
Yeah. So you mentioned the deputy inspector, RoboCop.
Karn.
Is that? Oh yeah, Cyril Karn. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So he, as you mentioned, he got all his boys fucking slaughtered in that last episode.
Yeah.
And in this bureaucratic meeting Imperial commanders or whatever. They're like, there was an incident on Ferrix, and we got to go out and investigate it. And they send out Lieutenant Supervisor Blevin, and he goes to Ferrix, and he's just reaming them out. He's like, you guys are a corporate security force, and you completely fucked up at like every level possible. And from now on,
it's under Empire Authority. Or whatever.
From now on, this place is under Empire Authority. And it's fucking awesome to see, like, because in Star Wars, right, in the movies and in other shows, every fucking planet and town and village you go to, there's just stormtroopers running around. Right. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say we're seeing them like being brought under the umbrella.
But this is what we were saying in the last recording we did. Like, some places just have yet to be touched by the reach of the Empire. And we're seeing the reasons why they might arrive at these places, right? We don't 100% know what they were doing on the planet Aldhani in this episode. We got like a little bit of a explanation, like they've been here for a long time, and they pushed out a lot of the.
They pushed out the
folks that live here.
It's just a distribution hub. Is basically what it is. Basically an Amazon warehouse. They can store shit.
Yeah,
push it out when they need to.
Which is terrible. Yeah,
that's the one thing.
Push out all the natives.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know. It's all very cool to me. And in another really cool thing, we get to see Luthen goes back to the capital, Coruscant, which, as we know, is the capital of the galaxy or the Empire. Actually, no, Coruscant was also the Republic capital too, right, Dusty? Yeah.
Yep.
That's where the Jedi Temple was, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So Stellan Skarsgård, or Luthen, disguises himself as like this rare artifact dealer.
Yeah, that transformation was nuts.
Yeah, he throws on a wig and he's talking in a completely different tone and like
even his mannerisms are different. Yeah,
and he's meeting with Mon Mothma, Senator Mon Mothma, and this is our first time seeing her in this show. And as soon as we see her, we know why she's there, obviously, but it's under the guise for her, I guess, security guy.
Yeah,
her security detail.
Apparently, she's got a lot of eyes on her recently.
Well, yeah, they said at the beginning, it's like she's got a new driver's. She's like, there's eyes on me. So, like, they're switching it up, keeping an eye on it, because before she was, we talk about the hubris of the Empire. She was able to finance some things to build up this alliance and spend the money pretty recklessly. But now they're starting to zone in and audit and see what the fuck's going on.
Right.
So, got to be careful now.
As we've talked about, the Empire, they maintained the Imperial Senate, which is members of the former, the old Republic Senate, which Mon Mothma is part of, Gail Organa, and these people who are now involved in the rebellion. But clearly, like you said, because of her spending and like whatever the fuck they're doing, the Empire's taking notice. But the disconnect is what's so cool to me, is that even though these high-ranking senators are clearly doing shady shit according to the Empire, a security council, like where Daedra is part of, they don't even really know that that's going on. So when she comes up to them and is like, hey, there's this weird shit going on, they don't even have the information to make the connection. Right?
Yeah. It's not surprising. It's the inefficiency of government.
And that's what I love about this so much. It's like, it's so reflective of how real government works. And like you said, the inefficiencies in it and just all this stuff.
Yep.
And it's so fucking cool to me, because there's another part. I almost got a little choked up. I didn't go that far, but later on we see Mon Mothma back at her home with her husband, and he's planning for a dinner party, and he's inviting all these other people that she says like, oh, these fucking people hate me. Like, why'd you do this? And you hear her talking, and she's like, I forget her exact quote, but she says something along the lines of like, the Empire's cutting off trade routes, and they're like, they're like, people are gonna starve, and like, and we're
gonna laugh about it over a third course meal or something like that. Yeah.
And now we're understanding why people are like deciding to fight back against the Empire, and it was very moving to me because, as you guys know, my political worldview is very similar. So I don't know. I just thought that was really cool. And I think ultimately what I love most about seeing this stuff you know, there's always something cool about seeing how the sausage is made and behind the scenes of things. And in this case, we're seeing the behind the scenes, the inner workings of like Imperial fucking agencies and stuff, the inner workings of other places. Very, very cool. But ultimately, what I love about this is it's, you know, Star Wars. We just did a video on the original trilogy. Check that out. The original trilogy, and even with the prequels and stuff, it's all very much about Jedi versus Sith, the Force, good versus evil, Luke and Anakin and the Emperor and all this cast of characters. The fact that it, like, the original Star Wars was about this rebel alliance doing this huge blow against the Empire is kind of lost within the story. And it becomes not really even about that anymore.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
But this is now taking it back to that, and this is just, it's about what the, like, this is the, and the Rebel roots. Alliance, it's the main focus of the story, really. That's why I said it just gets, for obvious reasons, it gets, a shadow gets cast over it by all the other stuff going on with the Jedis and all this. Shit. Yes.
Yeah.
That was a perfect way to put it, the heroic shit. But like, really, this story is about people fighting back against their oppressors and taking a stand. And I just think it's so good, and they're doing such a good job. I'm in love with the show, as I said earlier.
It's great.
Yeah, I fucking
love
it. The
political stuff doesn't even seem boring at all.
No,
like
not at all. Because it's not really political. It's more like,
it's not. It's just like story building or like world building or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's definitely It's because what you're seeing is you're seeing we're talking about the inefficiency of government. It's bloated. There's a lot of red tape. They're being oppressive at times, and so you're seeing why the people are doing what they're doing, but at the same time, you're also seeing like the resistance. You know, they're hanging on by a thread right now. They talked about it a couple times. A couple scenes, like, you know, I almost pulled the plug on this. You know, this might not have gone through. You know, they're living in huts, planning things months in advance. Look at this
group. Like, it's like 7 of them versus a group of 50.
Yeah, this is, which, I mean, they're always outnumbered and outmanned, but right now they're trying to set it up so, you know, the first real stage of any insurgency is funding. How are we going to finance this war?
Right.
And it seems like this heist is going to go off because we know what happens. So they're going to get this money. Then, you know, you grow your base, and then you get bases and starships and shit. And then you could start spooling up shit in a couple of days or a couple of weeks rather than like 5 months of planning without enough people. So it's.
Yeah.
So I went back and watched The New Hope, scene where Vader force chokes the dude. They're talking about, you know, the specifics of what we're seeing in play, right? So in that scene, they're talking about like the fucking Death Star and how nobody's gonna fuck with them and all this stuff, and they're talking about how the resistance is gaining cooperation in the Imperial Senate. And then Moff Tarkin comes in and he's like, the Imperial Senate's not a concern. I just got word from the Emperor that, you know, he dissolved the council and the last remnants of the old republic has been swept away. And then the other guy's like, well, without the Senate, how will the Emperor maintain control? The regional governors will control their local territories. Fear will keep people in line. So like, we're seeing the Empire get pushed to their breaking point, like the starts of it. To when they're just like, all right, fuck this. Here's our mega weapon now. You want to fuck around?
Spread too thin.
Your shit's going to get blown up. But it's so cool to see, too, because, like, that's what happened in real life. Like, with Hitler, if you look back into, like, the history of World War II, like, one of Hitler's major failures, and probably the reason why he lost, is because he fucking got way too cocky, spread his forces way too thin by fucking just full sending everyone into Russia. For the slaughter. And by the time the U.S. and England like got involved, like fully got involved, you know, the German forces were like fucking nothing. So it's just I don't know, it's really cool to see because the movies never really actually touch on that stuff. So I'm really loving it. Fantastic episode. I'm fully on board with this show. Can't wait to watch the next one. I'm loving it. Dusty, I'm glad you had a change of heart in this one. I suspected you would, but.
My only concern is if we get a filler episode next week where they don't do the robbery and we're just sitting around waiting. Like,
I hope
if they're
going to
build up this robbery over a couple episodes, I'm gonna be a little upset. Get it over with.
I hope they keep
the story moving.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I don't know if that's too much to ask for, but maybe I don't think it is. If there's only going to be one season, it seems like they could just keep it going.
Yeah,
no filler.
That would be some fucking Walking Dead shit. I'd be pissed.
Right. Yeah.
But this seems to be like, Walking Dead would like set up.
If there was multiple seasons,
yes,
I wouldn't mind
Walking Dead would take the
but
whole season to set up the heist.
Yeah, they would do some like crazy,
and
like
they would leave you on a cliffhanger.
It would be this episode, and then there would be like 12 episodes where it's just like they don't even mention it again. But like Marvin's saying,
just don't do that.
Being as this is one season, it's very centrally focused on Cassian. Like, yes, we're seeing other stuff happen, but like it's very centrally focused on him. I think they'll probably deliver. But I'm looking forward to it.
Do you think Deidre flips at some point? Maybe she starts helping the...
That's another interesting theory. Like, well, fuck these people. Like, they're not going to listen to me. Maybe
she goes there and she gets caught up and like, I don't know, maybe something happens. She's like, oh.
Well, if my theory holds up and she does go to Ferrix, she could meet Cassian's friend. What's her name?
Marva,
and Marva could give her the scoop, and then maybe that'll change her a little bit. But we'll see.
She doesn't have that traitor feel to me. She has that.
She is like a strict cop type.
Yeah, by the book, by the
by
rules.
The book.
Yes, she's very by the book. So I don't see her like.
Yeah.
I'll see it.
She's the Kamala Harris.
Wicked dreams.
Cop Mala. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, I'm looking forward to it. Let us know in the comments what you guys think of this episode and your theories for future episodes. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell if you haven't already, and check out our website harshlanguage.tv for more. We'll catch you in the next episode.
See ya.
Basta.